Tonight on NewsVision, it was a red wave that struck the country on Election Day, including Miami-Dade County.
We'll say I give credit to the Republican Party. They are great marketers.
We'll have the latest results and reactions to the re-election of Donald Trump. Plus, some University of Miami students were misinformed and intimidated and told that they could not vote at the polls.
I went twice because the first time I went, there was people trying to take away our voting and our voting rights.
And later on, we'll introduce you to one student who is turning the page on a life-changing health discovery.
I was lifting in the school gym, and that's when I blacked out, and next thing I know, I woke up at the nearby hospital.
All these stories and more ahead on the program. NewsVision starts right now.
Donald Trump will be the 47th President of the United States of America. Trump won the White House again over his Democratic opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, on Tuesday. Trump won both the electoral vote with 295 votes and the popular vote with close to 73 million votes.
Good evening and thank you for tuning into this week's edition of NewsVision. I'm Ben Freeman.
And I'm Gracie Palmer. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we have team coverage of Tuesday's presidential election.
Vice President Harris did not speak on Tuesday night. Around midnight, her campaign said that she would not be appearing until the next day. On Wednesday, Harris spoke at Howard University, her alma mater, around 4 p.m. The vice president conceded, urging voters to accept the results of the election, and said that she will work to help Trump in a peaceful transfer of power. Harris also spoke on the importance of fighting for freedom and said the campaign for justice will not end.
But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Both President Biden and Vice President Harris spoke with President-elect Trump on Wednesday to congratulate him on the election. Earlier today, President Biden spoke to the nation, touching on the same themes as Harris. He repeated that we will have a peaceful transfer of power on January 20th.
And now, political anchor Billy Brightman is here with the latest. Billy?
As we already mentioned, Donald Trump is officially the president-elect. Votes are still being counted, but so far the former and future president is sitting at a projected 295 electoral votes, 30 of which came from Florida. A few weeks ago, we covered voter registration in the state and how it is very clear that Florida is a red state, not a swing state, as Republicans have 1 million more registered voters than Democrats. But the red wave hit harder than anyone predicted. While Trump won Florida in 2020 by 3.3 points, this year he held a 13-point lead. And one of the biggest surprises was his win in Miami-Dade County. A Republican candidate has not won the county since George H.W. Bush in 1988. Down the Miami ballot, Democrats only got 2 victories in Florida's 24th and 25th congressional districts. A lot of these Republican victories came from shifts to the right in key demographics. And in Miami-Dade County, Cuban Americans were one of those key demographics. According to the Florida International University Cuban poll taken around a week and a half before the election, 68% of Cuban Americans in Miami said they would be voting for Trump. This is up from 35% in 2016 and 59% in 2020. One of the reasons for this is that Cuban Americans tend to lean Republican because they associate the Democratic Party with socialism.
And I will say I give credit to the Republican Party. They are great marketers. And the minute that Donald Trump or anyone in the Republican Party says anything about the Democrats, especially to Cubans and especially to people in Miami, it's always, oh, well, they're socialists, so they're communists, and they're really good at it.
One of the reasons for the increase in Cuban and Latino support was so large is because of the economy. Experts and Nobel Prize winners may have said Trump's economic plans would be worse for the economy, but for most, all it boils down to is how the current state of the economy affects them personally right now. The election of Donald Trump to a second term is historic for many reasons. He is only the second president to be elected to non-consecutive terms. He has been impeached twice. He's the first convicted felon to be put into office, and he is the oldest president-elect. Guys?
Thank you, Billy. Well, the Hispanic voter population results were not the only surprising change. African American men also supported Republican candidates in larger numbers. According to the New York Times, Trump gained 8 points among black voters overall since his first election in 2016. The Democrats fell by 14 points among the demographic. These numbers are based on current polling results and may shift with recounts and later surveys.
Now let's take a look at the Electoral College. Right here, Arizona and Nevada were just called for Trump, which means that Trump ended with 312 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 226, which is worse than 2016. Now, how bad was it for Kamala Harris? There wasn't a single county in the entire country that Harris overperformed Biden by over 3 points. Not a single county. Now, a lot of Democrats are asking, how did this happen? And there are three main reasons. One, Trump is historically underpolled. In 2016, he was underpolled and won. In 2020, he was underpolled and barely lost. And now, in 2024, he was underpolled and he beat Kamala Harris. Second, Trump received historic minority support. According to NBC exit polls, 46% of Hispanics voted for Trump and 55% of Hispanic men voted for Trump. Now, take a look at 2020. Trump received 32% of the Hispanic vote and 36% of the Hispanic male vote. And in 2016, that number was 29%. NBC projects that he'll receive around 1/3 of all minority votes in the entirety of this election, the best a Republican candidate has ever gotten. He also overperformed with young voters, 42% from ages 18 to 29. And then the third, people were just generally unhappy with the election. Biden only had a 38% approval rating nationwide, and Trump capitalized on issues like the border, the economy, and inflation. Now, this should be a wake-up call for Democrats. They lost in an upset in 2016, barely won in 2020, and lost in a decisive way in 2024. And now the Dems have lost the presidency, the Senate, and they're most likely going to lose the House. These trends show a geopolitical shift in the U.S., and it's no exaggeration to say that U.S. politics have been changed forever. And with current polling data, Donald Trump won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Trump is sitting around 72.8 million votes compared to Harris's 68.2 million votes. And this is the first time Trump will have won the popular vote, as he lost it to Clinton in 2016 and Biden in 2020. A Republican has not won the popular vote since George W. Bush during his re-election in 2004, 20 years ago. Gracie?
And here in South Florida, Trump has set up a temporary headquarters in West Palm Beach as the 75-day transition period is underway. His transition team is reportedly being led by friends and family Trump has met on the campaign trail. People like Robert Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, and others. Trump named Susie Wiles chief of staff earlier today. Wiles served as co-campaign manager for the 2024 election. One of the transition co-chairs said this year's process will be, quote, about as different as possible from 2016's transition.
Here on campus, the Watsco Center opened its doors for UM students to vote on Election Day. But miscommunication temporarily prohibited out-of-state students from casting their ballots. Ariel Weil is live at the Watsco Center to tell us more. Ariel, what happened?
At around 12:30 p.m. on Election Day, the Watsco Center started turning down students with out-of-state driver's licenses. But on the Miami-Dade voting website, it clearly states that students can provide a signed credit card or debit card in addition to a cane ID. Some students did return home to grab their passports, and others stayed to argue with poll workers and call the election hotlines.
I'd say it was a pretty stressful experience yesterday. I went twice because the first time I went, there was people trying to take away our voting and our voting rights, I'd say, by telling us misinformation about what IDs we can prove to say it's us.
UMPD did arrive at the scene later in the afternoon to clear up the confusion and monitor the polls. Once the authorities arrived at the scene, students stated that they no longer had any issues voting at the polls. But in the meantime, amidst the chaos and confusion, many students who were waiting in line to vote actually left, went home, and never came back. For UMTV, I'm Ariel Weil.
Thank you, Ariel. Well, Missouri is mourning the death of 5 people, 2 of them poll workers who were also a married couple. They drowned following flash floods in the early morning of Election Day. Missouri Highway Patrol responded to reports about 3 cars being swept off the road by flooding. A few people were able to escape and swim to shore, but the 2 poll workers and 3 others were dragged away by the current and drowned. Missouri is not the only state that experienced difficult weather conditions on Election Day. Quinn Davidson joins us with more.
On Election Day, a storm front stretched across multiple states, affecting voters who came out to the polls. These conditions also affected multiple swing states, something experts believe might have impacted voter turnout. For states on the southern belt of the country, heavy rainfall lasted until the late evening. Multiple tornado warnings were also issued to parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Today, these conditions continue to affect southern states. As of now, pressure changes on the western belt of the country, pushing heavy snowfall in New Mexico and Colorado, causing multiple road closures and harsh travel conditions. I will be back with the full forecast later in the program.
Time for a short break, but when NewsVision returns, we'll take a look at how other countries are reacting to the re-election of Donald Trump.
Know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
For the first time in 3 years, the Republicans have taken control of the Senate. With 4 uncalled races, the Republicans officially took back the Senate with 52 seats to the Democrats' 44 seats. Montana, Ohio, and West Virginia all flipped red during this election. And now the search begins to find a new Senate Majority Leader after longtime position holder Mitch McConnell announced he would be stepping aside.
Former Florida Governor and current Senator Rick Scott has been elected to a second term in the U.S. Senate. Billy Brightman attended the watch party in Bonita Springs on Tuesday and joins us now live with more. Billy, how was it?
Ben, the party was over almost as soon as it began with how quickly the race was called. Most polls in the state closed at 7 and the race was called just after 8. Rick Scott won by his largest margin yet. In his first bid for Senate in 2018, he defeated now NASA Administrator Bill Nelson by just 10,000 votes. In the 2024 election, he beat former Representative Debbie Mucarsel-Powell by 1.4 million votes. He's now setting his sights on Senate Majority Leader, replacing Mitch McConnell.
We need a Republican Party to start solving the problems of this country, and we have a significant number of problems. Florida is the center of the Republican Party of this country. Washington could learn a hell of a lot from what we've done right here in this great state.
Following Donald Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election, there have been a variety of reactions. Shay McDonald is here to break down what some foreign leaders are saying. Shay?
In the aftermath of Trump's victory, leaders around the world have come forward with congratulations and support. As these leaders prepare for the next White House leadership, they're trying to put a good foot forward. At least, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Trump's victory, quote, history's greatest comeback, and stated, your historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. As the war in the Middle East continues into its second year, Trump has voiced his support for Israel and has vowed a quick end to the fighting. Elsewhere, Trump's prior relationships with Russian President Vladimir Putin have many questioning how strong U.S. support for Moscow will be once he's in office. But regardless, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated, we look forward to an era of a strong United States under President Trump's decisive leadership. We rely on continued strong bipartisan support for Ukraine in the United States. Mexico has had a contentious past with Trump, especially with his policies on immigration and his current plans for tariffs. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo had what she called a cordial call with Trump, and in the call, the two talked about, quote, the good relationship that there will be between Mexico and the United States. Trump and China have also had a rocky relationship, engaging in a trade war during his first term. Chinese President Xi Jinping voiced his desire for positive relations, though. In a statement from the Chinese Foreign Ministry, he wrote that he hopes the two sides can, quote, uphold the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. Overall, there seems to be a mix of apprehension and positivity, but only time will tell how Trump will manage these relationships overseas. For UMTV, I'm Shay McDonald.
Thank you, Shay. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has fired his defense minister, Yoav Gallant, on Tuesday after their continuous clashing over how to handle the war in Gaza and Lebanon.
In the midst of a war, more than ever, full trust is required between the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense. Unfortunately, even though in the first months of the campaign there was such trust as well as very fruitful work, during the last months, this trust between me and the Minister of Defense has cracked.
Protests erupted in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv in response to Gallant's firing, with critics accusing Netanyahu of prioritizing his own interests over Israel's. Gallant is replaced by Foreign Minister Israel Katz, who has served in Israel's cabinet throughout the war.
Back here on campus, a faculty member from the university's Miller School of Medicine has pled not guilty following his arrest for trafficking a date rape drug. 44-year-old Dr. Darian Garcia is facing serious charges relating to trafficking GHB, a drug authorities are calling, quote, a coma in a bottle. Garcia reportedly sent packages containing the drug to a condo unit he owned in downtown Miami. Many of them were received by tenants in the building. He was released from the Turner Guilford Knight Correctional Center on a $15,000 bond. The Miller School of Medicine has yet to make a statement on this case.
The University of Miami's Cat Lovers Club, UPER, has announced on Instagram that one of the beloved campus cats was attacked and killed by a student-owned dog over the weekend. Amanda Mohammed is outside the Rathskeller Bar and Grill where the incident allegedly happened on October 29th. Amanda, what can you tell us?
Gracie, I am at the scene of this brutal attack, which reportedly happened in the small alley between the Rathskeller and the Frost School of Music. And at the time, the Rathskeller was only seating patrons inside, so no staff witnessed the incident.
They informed me that the camera footage cuts off wherever the attack happened, and all they see is the student walking the dog, and then nothing leading up to the attack.
What we do know is that the victim was born on campus 10 years ago, resided here, and was cared for by UPER until her death. The attacker was a pit bull that was taken in as a foster by a UM student during Hurricane Milton, and according to the UM police, from the University of Miami, the quote was unfortunately attacked by a leash dog being walked by its owner, and after consultation with Miami-Dade County Animal Services, the dog was released to its owner. UMPD was informed of the attack and is conducting an investigation. UPER's announcement encourages pet owners to follow their pet safety suggestions. However, the dog's handler, UM senior Ellie Bryant, commented on the post saying it holds misinformation, including that the dog is student-owned. This is an ongoing investigation, and we will keep you updated. Live from the Rathskeller for UMTV, I'm Amanda Mohammed.
Well, guys, I mean, I know the three of us have cats, and if that was my cat, I'd be incredibly sad.
100%. So devastating. But we have meteorologist Quinn Davidson here. Quinn, please tell us you have some good news for us.
I do have some good news. There is some sunshine in the forecast. It's a bit on the breezy side, I will say, and only an isolated shower chance, but it'll be overall pretty nice out there. We have Hurricane Rafael. Sustained winds of 105 miles per hour. It is a Category 2 storm just off the Gulf of Mexico, and this is going to push more into the Gulf of Mexico, making its westward track. Here in Miami, not much going on. We have a few of those residual moisture showers plummeting into areas like Homestead and South Miami-Dade County, but nothing too concerning. There's Rafael, 105 miles per hour, and it is expected to move westward into the Gulf of Mexico, and it is looking to weaken into a tropical storm. There is quite a lot of uncertainty as to where the storm exactly exactly will go, but it is not looking to make landfall in the United States, but the Gulf Coast should keep an eye on those rip current risks. Rafael will move out, and we will have those breezy winds and the chance for some gusty showers coming off the Atlantic waters, but again, not a washout. Just bring an umbrella if you're heading out of the house this weekend, and make sure your hair is looking good. We have a 20% chance in this little yellow area issued by the National Hurricane Center of development of this tropical wave in the next 48 hours and 7 days. I don't think it will develop, but we do see those orange colors indicating higher moisture values that will be coming towards our region on Sunday into Monday. So the beginning of our work week is looking to be on the wetter side of things, just in time for Veterans Day. Temperatures in the 80s for the remainder of the week, and look at this, we have a 69-degree low on Thursday. We have a cold front potentially coming in, looking absolutely gorgeous once we get there.
Thanks, Quinn. And coming up, the Canes keep on cooking and are now ranked 4th in the nation. Don't go anywhere. Don't go away. Sports is right after. What?
I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome to sports. I'm Zach Macer. Canes football is now ranked 4th in the nation with only 3 regular season games remaining. But what did they do to deserve the move up to 4th? Let me show you. They played Duke over the weekend, and let's get started quickly. Cam Ward already breaks the pocket, throws it deep down the field, and caught by Xavier Restrepo after the deflection of the Duke defender. He adjusted his body, got that grab. They also had another touchdown, so it's 14-0 in the first. But Malik Murphy to Jordan Moore. Oh my goodness, how did he get his feet in? Then again, they scored on that possession. Later on, Samir Hagans runs into the end zone for that one. They get another touchdown. Miami with the field goal. And then it's Peyton Jones who easily runs into the end zone. Duke will be leading. Second half, Cam Ward and the Canes say, you know what, we're going to come back. They scored there to bring them closer to Duke. And then another touchdown. It's the freshman Elijah Lofton playing fullback for this possession, gets into the end zone. And then Jacoby George turns on the Jets and zooms his way into the end zone, extends their lead, 39-31. And then to put the icing on the cake, Xavier Restrepo for history. 66 yards to the house for the receiving yards record and touchdown record in UM's entire history. 53-31 the final from Hard Rock. Canes men's basketball is back. After about 8 months of no games, the Canes had their first one on Tuesday and beat Fairleigh Dickinson 113-72. Many Hurricanes had impressive performances, including transfer Lynn Kidd, who had a team-high 24 points and 9 rebounds. But the real surprise of the day was how well 2 freshmen had in their debuts. One was 5-star Jalil Bethea, who had 9 points in 13 minutes, and the other was 3-star recruit Divine Ugochukwu, who scored 15 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Head coach Jim Larinaga commented on his performance after the game.
He just has impressed us and keeps getting better and better. And you saw what he did today, and I think his size, speed, athletic ability, and ability to get the ball to the rim is very, very good.
Ugochukwu is a Sugar Land native, Texas native, and was ranked the 247th best recruit by 247 Sports. Canes basketball next plays Binghamton University on Monday. After one strange encounter and a dash of Panthers pride, a tradition was born for South Florida's favorite hockey team. Tonight, we're uncovering the story behind the Florida Panthers' legendary rat trick and how it became a beloved part of the team's identity.
Most Florida Panthers fans know the story behind their beloved rat. The night forward Scott Mellenby killed a rat in the locker room, then scored 2 goals, creating the legendary rat trick. That moment became such a key part of Panthers history, it even inspired a mascot of its own. But what fans may not know is that Scott Tinkler, the Panthers' assistant equipment manager, played a crucial yet often overlooked role in turning the rat tradition into the iconic symbol it is today.
I found this giant scary rat that I bought, and I bought the rat, my own money. I put the rat underneath and this is a team that's 3 years old, not a lot of tradition. Put the rat underneath the tape rack where I had written.
And from that moment, a tradition was born. Scott Tinkler's small gesture ignited something iconic, not only for the team, but for him personally.
There was 10,000 rats on that ice after anybody scored. So it was pretty fascinating to have created that and then to see it grow to even where there's a mascot now.
A simple locker room joke sparked a tradition that's now woven into the identity of the Florida Panthers. The rat has become more than just a symbol. It embodies the heart and history of the Florida Panthers.
But before the rat became the beloved icon it is today, the tradition faced some controversy.
I remember actually Victor's first year, the fans weren't really too keen on 2 mascots. What? But obviously over time, Victor was able to make the community love him a lot.
Victor E-Rat has won the hearts of Panthers fans and the South Florida community alike. No longer just a symbol of game day excitement, Victor is an advocate for Panthers pride, attending charity events, children's parties, and hosting community gatherings year-round. He's become more than a mascot. He's a beloved figure, making a meaningful impact across the community and representing the spirit of the Florida Panthers both on and off the ice. For UMTV, I'm Ava Kazarian.
Ed will introduce you to one UM student who's reclaiming his future after a deadly diagnosis. NewsVision will be right back.
If you're an ally of this community, speak out. There are more of us together than apart, and so they need you to stand with them.
And finally, after one major life change, a student at the University of Miami is pushing forward to help others get ready for life after college. John Stanley has the details.
But honestly, like, this is going to be, a little bit easier. I would do this, honestly, actually. Do this.
Meet Andrew Priolo, a junior at the University of Miami studying finance. Andrew goes through the typical daily grind like any college student during the school week, but he also runs a career development class on Monday nights that is open to anyone focusing on a career in the business realm. His mission? To help students prepare for the daunting tasks they face following graduation.
My goal now is to just spread the awareness, help as many kids as possible, break into banking from a traditional non-target school like UMiami, where it's a little bit tougher to go all the way up to New York and leverage a network and kill those interviews, more so get those interviews, but trying to just help as many kids as I can and bring them along with me.
And Andrew is a good person to listen to. He's a Vermont Carlin Scholar in the Miami Herbert School of Business, as well as a University of Miami Presidential Scholar. Andrew focuses on areas such as network building, resume crafting, and overall recruitment skills to give his students the best chance of standing out to employers. This week, Andrew walked his class through topics that will specifically help them during evaluations and case studies that they'll face during the interviewing process. All areas that are left out of typical curriculums here, and important pieces he picked up through his own internships with Kingswood US and Bank of America. Though Andrew is passionate and knowledgeable about the world of banking and loves to prepare others for whatever careers they may choose, he had another dream when he was growing up, but it was all ruined by a medical emergency.
Growing up, my goal and my dream was to play, hopefully one day collegiate, maybe professional baseball too, and my dreams looked like they were starting to come into fruition. Going to my senior year, had a couple of offers on the table, but ultimately the first week of my senior year, I was lifting in the school gym, and that's when I blacked out, and next thing I know, I woke up at the nearby hospital, and that's when they told me that they discovered a brain tumor about the size of a grape in the back of my head.
A shock that forced Andrew to shift his life focus.
I pivoted. I believe everything happens for a reason. I just had to move on to the next thing. There was nothing really I could do, but that was how I stuck through it. Looked to my family, to my friends, and to what I had.
Now, Andrew dishes out his support to his peers during a challenging part of their lives, trying to find internships and jobs, inspiring them along the way.
It's very inspirational. I think being able to shift so quickly from one dream to another and actually achieve it. I feel like this process is so stressful. If you can continue to work and let's say you get rejected from everything, you do it again the next year. It teaches you a lot about resilience, and that applies to like every aspect of life, not just getting a career in banking.
Perseverance, a trait Andrew hopes he successfully passes on to his students. For UMTV, I'm John Stanley.
At the balance sheet, I was saying in interviews,
I love seeing people go from tragedy to triumph, and it's nice to have some good news for a change.
Definitely. I mean, that was so inspiring. But that's all the time we have for this week's edition of NewsVision. Thank you for watching.
Be sure to tune in at the same time next Thursday. Have a great night.